In this episode of the Health Coach Impact podcast, we're talking to Sue Ellson about all things LinkedIn. In this podcast, you will hear how you can use LinkedIn to your advantage, what makes it different to other social media channels, and how LinkedIn can be a very useful tool in helping coaches to get noticed. Today, I am joined by Sue Ellson. Now, Sue is a LinkedIn specialist, and we are very, very grateful to pick her brain. And so, Sue, thank you for joining me, and please tell us what you do.
Thanks, Sharon. My career started in banking 6 days after my last year 12 exam at Westpac in Adelaide, and I did lots of different roles in the bank for 11 years. Moved to Melbourne, got a job, found out I was pregnant, got sacked, and basically haven't had a real job since. So, well before COVID, I've been using technology. My first website went online in 2001, and I joined LinkedIn in 2003. So, yeah, that's in a nutshell.
Okay, 2003 with LinkedIn.
Mm.
Interesting. Early adopter.
Definitely. I was up late one night and I was thinking about how can I help more people who are new to Melbourne connect with things, not just in person, but online. And so I was thinking about that in 2003 and I found LinkedIn, I found eAcademy, which is no longer around, and another one which became Zing, which used to be called OpenBC. So yeah, there's been online networks around for a long time, but LinkedIn has stood the test of time.
And so you've kind of got this specialist area in
Mhm.
LinkedIn. How did
Hmm.
that evolve?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in 2008, when I was running my Newcomers Network events, there was a person who'd lived in Australia for 25 years, lived overseas for 25 years, and it was coming back. And she said, "Can you help me with my LinkedIn?" So that's how it started. And then in 2016, I published my first book, 120 Ways to Achieve Your Purpose with LinkedIn. And then in 2023, I published my fifth book, which was LinkedIn for me in my career or business. So yeah, it's just been something that's grown and developed because when you sue everything, you can't get a gig. But when you say, I'm Sue and I'm a LinkedIn specialist, people remember something about you. And then, you can get that work when it comes up. So I have a policy of connecting with everyone I meet. So if you haven't done that up until now, my three favorite words are from now on, which I imagine in health coaching would be a really good phrase to use in that area as well. And just say from now on. And so, yeah, I've just realized that of all the skills that I had, that the LinkedIn piece was the one where I could really help people because I can use it for their career, I can use it for their business, I can use it for branding, just as a database for maintaining, ability to reach someone, lots of different reasons. So yeah, I figured there's plenty of scope under that LinkedIn banner.
So tell us a bit about LinkedIn. Like it's very different to other
Hmm.
social media platforms.
Yeah. Well, when it started, it was basically just an online resumes and jobs platform. And over time, it's developed. So it had a news feed that was incorporated. It's hard to believe every social media has a news feed now, but back in the day, they didn't. And then it became a publishing tool. And now, of course, it's a database on steroids because obviously 1.3 billion members worldwide, you can find a lot of people. But as I said earlier, it's also that really good branding piece. So when I Googled, well, my first website, newcomersnetwork.com, went online in 2001, and I didn't create sueelson.com until 2012. And interestingly, it took 6 months to get that above my LinkedIn URL in search results because that's how highly optimized LinkedIn is for your name. So if anybody says, who's this Sharon Curtin? Who does she think she is? And they put it into Google or they put it into AI, then certain results are going to come up. And one of those results is most likely to be your LinkedIn profile. So yeah, it's quite different. Also, you can use it for research. So you can look for people to add to your network or to collaborate with or to give you the lowdown on some unique thing or to connect with somebody in a similar field overseas. Yeah, there's just multiple uses of the platform. And likewise, if you do publish an article on LinkedIn, you can get that search engine optimized, or when you publish it, and then that will appear in search results even quicker than the content on your own website. And also, LinkedIn favors those articles over posts. So if you were only ever posting in the news feed on LinkedIn, you wouldn't go as far as if you wrote a couple of articles. So I've got articles I've written 5 years ago and they're still performing for me today. So yeah, it's a very, very powerful tool. I think a lot of people underestimate it. And the other thing that's interesting about LinkedIn is it's owned by Microsoft, and I say not a megalomaniac. And so it's a professional network. So it has a really good user agreement. If you read Section 8, the do's and don'ts, it's really worth checking that out. And then it also has professional community policies. So you're not going to cop those rhinoceros skin comments you need, like where you have to have that really thick skin because people are rude to you. That sort of thing is less likely to happen on LinkedIn. Yeah, because it is a professional network. But most people, Sharon, they don't wake up in the morning and say, I can't wait to check my LinkedIn profile. So I do, of course, but most people don't. And so you need to keep that in mind as well. It's not as frequent and frantic, I guess, as a lot of other social media. So you've got to be really deliberate about how you use it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you use the word deliberate.
Mm.
The way that I see LinkedIn, it's not something that you fluffily
No.
like, comment. It seems to be a very strategic
Hmm.
platform, who you connect with, how you connect with them.
Mm. Well, I say to connect with everyone you meet. As I said, from now on, everyone you meet by phone, text, email, DM, message, app, whatever it is, you meet in person, invite them to connect on LinkedIn. Because I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, Sue, I met you 8 years ago, and now I'd like you to help me with LinkedIn." Okay, no worries. Similar things happen with health coaching. You might think, "Yeah, I really need to get onto that, but I never quite get around it." But if you've connected with that person, you're going to be in their orbit. So when the time is right and they're ready to take that next step, then you'll be in their radar. So I think it is a different platform. Um, and you do need to be strategic and build your network, but I wouldn't limit the people I connect to. I would just keep connecting with everybody because you never know where it will be. And because you're not under those regulations of APRA, you could even connect with your clients because then they're likely to perhaps recommend you to someone else because they see your stuff in the news feed. But there's been a really significant change in LinkedIn in the last 12 months, which in the past they would assess the quality of the content and whether people were engaging with it, and that would determine where it went. But now they're saying, all right, the people who've liked your content before, what they're really interested in is X. So unless you're producing X, we're not going to share that content. So it's more of an interpretive model. So it's saying, if you are always liking content about health, well, then we'll keep sending you health stuff, but we're not going to send you anything about cars because that's, not so related to health. So therefore, yeah, so we've got to keep these things in mind. If 1 minute we're talking about health and the next minute we're talking about lifestyle, the algorithm's going to get very confused by that. So we've really, back to that word of deliberate, we've got to think about what message are we trying to get out there and pretty much stick to our knitting the whole time.
Yep. So for health coaches, how do you think they could make LinkedIn work for them?
Well, first of all, you've got to fill in your LinkedIn profile. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes. You've just got to do it. I know it's time consuming. I know no one wants to do it, but it is essential because people are going to Google you. It's going to come up. People are going to read it. And so think of it as the opportunity to tell your story without having to repeat it 600 times over. So, yes, allocate the 10 hours, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, and fill it in. Look at mine for a pro forma if you want. Write in your achievements and your tasks. Don't worry if you've had other industry experience or it's more than 10 years old. Put the whole lot in because, if I'm going to a health coach, I want to know they weren't, wandering around trees, waving wands, thinking of fairies. I want just a little bit more detail than that. Like I want to know that they're a really genuine health coach. Not that there's anything wrong with the fairies and the trees and part of the health practice. I have no issue with that. But if I don't have a sense of that, when I look at the profile, then we're not going to be a fit. So you kind of want people to be able to self-select. So you've got to fill in your profile. And then after you've done that, it's you selectively engage. aligned with your focus. And then you selectively invite people to connect with you. And you can do that. You can search the entire LinkedIn database using something called a Google Advanced Search. We can put that in the show notes. And I've got a video that explains how to use it. But if you specialised in coaching, I don't know, senior executives in HR, so you could say, I am just going to connect with senior executives in human resources and they'll see I'm a health coach and, we'd probably be a good fit and away we go. So, yeah, that would be my next thing. But be very strategic and have those systems in place. You're not allowed to automate anything because that's against the LinkedIn user agreement. But if you systemize things, so you check on a regular basis who's looked at your profile. Hi, Mary, thanks for stopping by my LinkedIn profile. Would you like to connect? Nothing wrong with that. And Mary's already a warm lead because she looked at you in the first place. And secondly, you might run a LinkedIn event and you can invite 1,000 connections per week to a LinkedIn event. I would suggest you make it a free event because if it's a paid one, even if you message people, they don't pay, So just stick to the free events with LinkedIn events. So you can do that. And then just get back to what you were doing previously. Try and allocate about 20 minutes a week to set up those activities after you've updated your LinkedIn profile. And you don't need to spend all day every day on LinkedIn. In fact, I would not recommend it. It would be a good waste of time. But be strategic.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things it sounds like coaches can do. There's LinkedIn events. You talked
Mm-hmm.
about writing articles. You can share, can't they? They could share credible
Mm-hmm.
articles that, so if HCANZA wrote an article, those health coaches could promote it on
Yep.
their personal feed. How else can they use those sort of things?
Yeah, well, if they're following the organisations where they'd like to provide support, then they're more likely to appear in that organisation's search results. So I'm a huge fan of working close to home. So if you look at all the organisations on Google Maps that are near your house and follow them on LinkedIn, then if somebody's doing a search, then you're more likely to appear in their search results. So that's one thing. The other thing I'm a huge fan of, if you've got at least 150 followers, on either your personal profile or your company page, you can create a LinkedIn newsletter. And what I love about a LinkedIn newsletter, it's just like writing an article, but it sends out a notification to everyone. But even better than that, from now on, every time somebody follows either you or your company page, it invites them to subscribe to the newsletter. And unlike a normal newsletter, which is another email in my inbox, which nobody wants, it's just a little notification on LinkedIn, which is really all you need to remember that someone exists. And so I really love the LinkedIn newsletter. I've got loads of subscribers as a result of that. So again, you're warming people up, you're getting them to know you, know, like, and trust you. And that newsletter tool can be very helpful as well. And I also use exactly the same content for my monthly newsletter. So I put the newsletter on my website, I send it out via MailChimp to my subscribers, and I also put it on LinkedIn. So it's got 3 distribution channels, but it's the same piece of content.
Yeah. So it's that repurposing.
And systemizing, you can't automate, but you can systemize. And the reason they don't want you to automate is they don't want the quality of the platform to deteriorate so that everybody says, oh no, too much, and they all abandon it. So those controls are in place to keep it authentic.
Yeah. And so what's the difference between an article and a newsletter?
So an article is just an article and it's a static item and can appear in search results, but the newsletter sends out that notification to everybody who's subscribed. So it's almost the same, but the newsletter feature sends the notification. Otherwise, you might not hear that
Yeah.
Sue's published an article on such and such.
But content could be sort of similar.
Absolutely, yes. Although Google doesn't like duplicate content. So I would say publish a newsletter instead of an article if you want to. That's probably going to perform better for you ultimately.
Hmm. So I've always been really curious about the about
Yes.
part. Some people are really personal, some people are very professional. What are your views?
Well, it really depends on your purpose. So there's always an argument amongst LinkedIn experts. Should it be in first person or third person or no person? So first person is I started here, I went there, I did such and such. third person is Sue started here, Sue went there, Sue did such and such, and no person is started here, went there, and there's no pronoun or
Mhm.
indication of who this person was. Now, a lot of people will say it needs to be in person, first person, because it's your LinkedIn profile and you wrote it. But if I read about you and it says, I started health coaching when blah, 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 I'm saying, no, I didn't start health coaching because what I'm reading is about you, but I'm thinking about you, but when I read the word I'm thinking about me. So for me, there's a disconnect when somebody reads first person. So that's why I've chosen to write in third person. But what we've also got to remember is most people looking at a LinkedIn profile will be doing it on their phone. So if you've got loads and loads of text in there, a lot of people are not going to read it. So I'm a huge fan of keywords and lots of dot points because my ultimate goal for all of my students and clients is to get them to appear in more search results, whether that be LinkedIn search results, Google search results, or AI search results. So the more keywords that we have describing what we do and optimizing those in the relevant sections, then that's going to help. Now, I think you've got about 2,600 characters in the About section, so use up as many of those as you can. And if you can separate your professional skills from your technical skills and your personal skills, it just makes it easier for the person reading it to understand what the value is that Sharon brings. Now, obviously, if you're in business, you want to include some form of call to action. Also, I like at the beginning of the About section to put your name and any post-nominal. So if you've got any formal qualifications or memberships, put those letters after your name. I also have my contact details available in the top line, written in mobile-friendly format, so +614, so that people can just click on their Android phone and call or text me. And my email address, I'm happy to put that there. Not everybody is, so you don't have to do that, but I have it visible so nobody has to click contact info to find it. It's all there and they can reach out to me directly. And I very rarely get people randoms. Like I use the argument, Sharon, do you walk past a real estate signboard and see a mobile phone number and say, I have to ring that number? Like you just don't do it unless you're interested
Yeah.
in the property. So yeah, I don't worry about it. But yeah, my message is very, very clear about how I help people. So people self-select and I don't have to take calls. Oh, but do you do this and do you do that? Well, no, no, no. It's all written down. So it's the more you can sort of tell your story and have that information readily accessible, the better it is. And you can then systemize things.
Now, before you talked about your personal and your business page,
Yes.
talk to me about what should be on the two different things.
Well, I actually put the same content on both because, like, it is the same thing. I mean, I'm a business of one. I don't want to be a business of many because I don't want the stress, the overheads, the anxiety. I just don't want it. So I've chosen to do either A, everything myself, or B, with technology. So that's the way I've chosen to go down this path. That still has its stresses because, like last night, on Friday night, I was at a networking event and the scan QR code on the app just vanished, mid me showing it to someone. So, technology is not foolproof, but yeah, that's the path I've chosen to go down. And yeah, I've just found that it works for me. But going back to your question, the benefit of your personal profile is your content that you share as a person is likely to go further than the content you share on the company page. It's just a fact across all of the platforms, it seems. However, what I love about having a Sue Ellson company page is it means that Sue Ellson logo appears next to my role, but also everything that I share on both. But the beauty of having the Sue Ellson company page is it's all there as a history in the one spot. And I really like that. It sort of gets a bit lost in the profile section. So having it all there on the company page is great. Also, it means I can attract followers. So, once I run out of 30,000 connections, I can still have an unlimited number of followers on either my personal or company page. And also, it just looks better to have a logo there rather than no logo. And of course, if you've got your business name that you put on all your invoicing, you could create that company page, in that invoicing. So for instance, I've got a business name called 120 Ways Publishing for my books. So I could be working for 120 Ways Publishing. But I've actually got two jobs, or multiple jobs on LinkedIn currently. One is my Sue Ellson one, one's 120 Ways Publishing, one's Newcomers Network. All the things are listed. And anything that you're doing currently, you can shuffle on your personal profile, whereas the company page is quite separate. Now, if you were building up a fabulous health practice with loads of coaches, you could have them all listing your company page on their LinkedIn profile, which will be great branding for you. And then, of course, if you had a huge number of followers on that company page, then if you decided to sell the business, that would go off with the business as well. But you'd still have your own personal profile. So, yeah, it really depends on whether you want to rule the world or just be yourself. You can do it accordingly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that newsletter then would come from your personal account and you would share it to your business page.
Well, I actually share the exact same newsletter from my personal account and I also put it on the company account because not everybody who follows the company account will follow the personal profile and they can unsubscribe even if they want to. So, yeah, that's what I do.
Okay. There's so
Now,
much the coach.
there is, yeah. And one of the things we talked about previously was LinkedIn Learning. So if you pay for premium, you automatically get access to LinkedIn Learning. But LinkedIn Learning has a huge number of amazing courses. And so in Australia, if you go to your local library and get a local library card, you can sign into the library website and get access to all the LinkedIn Learning courses for free. So you can do as many of those as you like. And I encourage people not just to do AI and business or something like that, but to do things like assertiveness skills or negotiation skills. These are skills that we don't think we need as a coach, but they can be actually really important for boundary setting and all that kind of stuff, following up on invoices or negotiating contracts and whatever. So I definitely encourage that. And in terms of premium, there is absolutely no point paying for premium unless you've updated your LinkedIn profile because you're just not going to appear in search results and you're not going to get that lead on. So update your profile first. And if you can afford it, pay for it per year because it is cheaper than paying by month. And I have the cheapest one, which is the jobs and careers one, which is $300 a year Australian if you pay for the year. And then there's a business one, but I don't need the extra features of the business one. So I've just gone for the jobs and careers one. But what I love about that baseline premium subscription is I can set up an automatic response on my messages that come to me. So, hi Sharon, thanks for messaging me. Here's some details and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. And I love that feature. You also get a bit more prestige because you've got a premium account.
Yeah.
You do appear higher in search results. You can send as many, or you can send 15 messages directly to people. And then when you connect with people, you can send a little message in that connection request, and that's unlimited as well. So there's a few little benefits that make it reasonably worthwhile if you're going to be active on LinkedIn. But for the majority of people, I'd say you don't need to pay for premium. And also, as we discussed earlier, please add all your email addresses to the back end of your LinkedIn account so that you don't accidentally create a duplicate account because lots of people end up with 2, 3, up to 6 LinkedIn accounts with different email addresses. So please add all your email addresses into the back end and just choose your primary email for all the correspondence. And the other thing you can do in the back end is you can turn off notifications. I don't know about you, Sharon, but I do not need one extra email in my inbox. So you can go into the back end of LinkedIn and turn off any of those email notifications you don't want. So that saves you a lot of time. And if you really want to go next level with LinkedIn, you write down all your stats and you set yourself some goals. And yeah, that's something I normally show one-on-one with clients.
Yeah. So tell me about some of the resources that you offer because when I got your beautiful automated response that I thought was very impressive,
Yeah,
you had, here are some courses and some things that I've done. And I
yeah.
went in there and there were all of these amazing recordings that are
Mm.
free that
Yes.
our coaches can start learning.
Yep, yep. So if you go to sueelson.com and you look under presentations, webinars, and recordings, they're all there for free and you can watch them in your own time. It also includes the slides. So if you want to do the quick and dirty version, just scroll through the slides and not listen to the audio, because I'm a bit hopeless at sitting there listening to videos for hours on end. So yeah, all the instructions are in the slides as well. So you just pick and choose whatever's relevant for you. My books are available online, so you can buy them. Or if you don't have $10, you can go to researchgate.net and you can download them for free. And the benefit is I still get reads. So, over 4,000 people have read my books. So, that's kind of cool. So I'm happy to give them away. I also run different events. So during National Careers Week in May this year, I'm running LinkedIn for Careers, and that'll be a free webinar. Next week, I'm going to Canberra, I'm going to Adelaide. I do random events whenever I go somewhere. And so, yeah, there's always stuff online. I've got the newsletter, which always shares latest things that I've appeared on. So this podcast will end up in the newsletter. And so, yeah, there's always stuff coming, because at the end of the day, hand on heart, I'm an educator. I like being able to teach people how to do things, and particularly those who are keen to take that little bit of personal responsibility and discipline to get things done. They're the ones I love working with.
Something I've really heard sort of really strongly from you is that it's a very, LinkedIn does help coaches get found. It helps
Mm.
to increase their visibility, their searchability. It increases their professionalism.
Yeah. Yeah, all of the above. And I think because it's that safe environment, that's really nice. But also, if you connect with someone, I don't know about you, but I remember Christmas card lists, and every year I dread the idea of writing out all the Christmas cards, because I have to manually check everybody's street address, because a lot of people move throughout the year. And so you'd have to check their address and make sure it was okay and pay for the stamp. I mean, my goodness, what an exercise that was. But nowadays, if you connect with someone, they change their phone number, their country, their job, their email, whatever, we can still reconnect with them. And I think there's a huge advantage in being able to build a network, because at the end of the day, I would never, even though I've been using tech online since 2001, I would never rely on technology alone. But what LinkedIn has enabled me to do is maintain my relationships with people in a soft, inoffensive way. And so I don't try and publish content more than twice a week. I mean, there's been some weeks when I've had 3 bits, so I've had to share it, but I would never do more than 3 bits of content a week. But you can actually get away with LinkedIn once a month, and you will actually get much further on LinkedIn if you like other people's stuff, or add comments, or save the post, or repost it. The platform is monitoring that, and it's saying, yes, we're trying to decide whether you're a good LinkedIn citizen or whether you just post and ghost. And if you post and ghost, then no, we're not going to help you. But if you come on here and, you know, every social media is a megalomaniac. It wants more people more often for longer. So if you do something that encourages that behavior, then the algorithm ultimately does reward you. But also, as I said, just being able to reach people from now on is fantastic.
So in terms of, is there an etiquette around commenting or resharing or any tips on that?
Yeah, okay. So obviously the like choice is different. So you can do a thumbs up, you can do celebrate, support, love, insightful, or funny. So there's multiple reaction types. There's also multiple post types. So you can do a poll, or you can add a PDF document so it becomes a little carousel. So you've got multiple different post types. Comments, they say that you should add at least 15 words. Please don't use AI generated comments. They sound, yeah, inappropriate. It's the best way to describe it. But anyway, add some value in the comments without stealing the thunder of the author. And saving really tells the algorithm this was amazing. So if you, as a health coach, put up a really cool infographic that is easy to read on a mobile phone, and people say, oh, that was amazing, I'm going to save that, that's a really good clue that the algorithm's saying, yeah, we love your stuff. So you can definitely do that. My motto for all social media is friendly, professional, and solution focused. I don't go into the personal, oh, I got this lump on my arm and this is how I fixed it. Like I don't go down that path. I mean, obviously, as a health coach, you might want to incorporate something like that, but please always respect the author or the person you're talking about and their identity. Like, be respectful, just as you would in any other environment. So I'd recommend that. And just remember that it is really an interpretive platform now rather than a popular post platform. So you've kind of got to stick to the same story. So this is devastating for me, Sharon, because I write poetry. And so before, my poems would do just as well as my LinkedIn stuff. And now, of course, my poems get enormous engagement ratio for the number of views, but they don't go as far because the algorithms decided, well, clearly we don't want poems on LinkedIn. We just want business stuff, which, is a
Right.
little bit disappointing,
Yeah.
but I plan to continue because, I'm a firm believer in getting more creatives and more voices on all the platforms, not just the masculine, do this and you'll kick goals, like not there's anything wrong with that. I just would like to see that more diversity of the human experience on there.
Yeah.
And a little bit of your personality is fine too. So, if you do want to be personal and that's your brand, that's entirely up to you. But as I said before, I'm an ex-banker, so I'm slightly risk averse. And what would concern me about going too personal is you'll end up really splitting an audience. People will either really love you or really hate you. And I'm always here for the long game. So I want to be always offering, those solutions friendly and professional.
Yeah. And what about promotions? Like if someone's got a
Mm,
new, hey, I'm just launching my new health coaching. I mean, it's not a really salesy platform, but you still want to let people know
no.
what you're doing.
Well, I think you've still got to just make sure you've added value in some way, shape, or form. So even if you're promoting a new platform, but you said, but we've got this free ebook that you can download, like that could still be something really worthwhile. Or if you scan this code, we'll give you a discount. You're not allowed to put advertising in the banner on the top of your profile, where that picture is behind your face. You can't put advertising there. But yeah, it's okay to do it, but just don't make it, 20% off this week and 15% off or bonus, weights this week. Yeah, that people are going to get pretty tired of that fairly quickly. And I think you've got to remember the call to action can still be on your LinkedIn profile. So yeah, bait them in with here's something really valuable. Like I was talking to a person who runs health training for an organization that I'm also a part of. And she told me that getting more sleep can make a huge difference to managing your weight. And I had never joined the two dots before. And it was, I mean, look, it's an obvious one, and we all know we should exercise and sleep and eat well. And I help a integrative practitioner with her regular webinars, and so I hear lots of great tips from her. But just this one little tip, I don't know, just it resonated really, really strongly with me. So if you're putting out those kind of tips that are not just the boring same old, but they're just presented in a way or with an image that grabs our attention, yeah, they can be really memorable and lasting.
And you could promote your new program in your newsletter, correct?
Absolutely, yeah, and you can put it on every newsletter if you wanted to, as well. So, but also you could direct message people. Hi, Mary. It's been great to be connected to you. Just thought I'd let you know personally. This is a program I think it would really help you because we've talked about X before. And so, what happened with another client? They had a software as a service product that was suitable for councils. And so what they did was they connected with the person making a buying decision in councils, and they almost did it too quickly, and LinkedIn warned them, you're trying to connect to too many people. But anyway, they still went ahead and did it. And then they prepared a message that they were going to directly send to all of these council employees that they'd connected to on LinkedIn. Now, fortunately, he sent it to me first because when I read it, I thought, oh, if I was a council employee, I'd delete and block and do all the things. So I rewrote it for them and they got a 40% conversion rate. Now, I know it's more time consuming, but if you really think about your avatar, the ideal person, like back to what we said before, if it was a senior exec in HR, that was the person you wanted to reach, and you'd tailored it for them, and you'd built up the relationship over time. So you can't connect and pitch. That's another one that people hate too. Oh, I've now connected, here's my health program. Like that's not going to go down well either. But yeah.
There's a lot of people that contact me and they'll go, I'd love to connect. And it's like, I help coaches scale their business. And I'm like, not
Yeah,
interested.
delete.
I know why you're connecting, but that's also okay, right? Like
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
just reaching out thinking you might be interested in scaling. And it's also fine to sort of say, yeah, no, thanks.
That's right, it is. And also I have a take no prisoners mentality. So if somebody annoys me, I delete block immediately. Like I just do not waste my time.
Yeah.
And I do accept connection requests basically from anyone in Australia, unless they look like they're going to pitch something to me, or if they do, I delete them. And then anyone who's overseas, we have to have something in common. And if we don't have anything in common, then I won't accept that connection request. But yeah, I get a lot of requests from web developers in foreign countries, and I don't need those. Yeah. Mm.
Now, how can people work with you? I mean, you do your free webinars. Do you also do one-on-one group sessions? Like, what else do you offer?
Yep, absolutely. So one-on-one is what most of my work is, where I work individually with someone, usually on an hourly basis, and we do stuff together, and then they also have stuff they do on their own. Then we come back and we revitalize it. I also do presentations for a lot of different groups, so I always list my upcoming presentations on my website. So a lot of those are for my local council, City of Boroondara, but then I also do them for other councils around Melbourne. And then I do group training for professional associations, or I speak at conferences or training days. I do work in schools. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all paid presentations, obviously. And then I do some pro bono work. But if somebody hasn't been working for more than 3 months, then I offer a significantly discounted rate. Or if they're over 60, I also offer them a 15% discount, because I know that budgets are not always the same when you're not working full time, but you still want to have access to things. But if somebody is concerned about the finances, what I'll do is I'll give them some pre-work to do first, so that when we do spend our time together, we can really maximize it. And most people, like if they're looking for work, will get exactly what they're looking for at the salary they're looking at within 3 months if they do everything I suggest. And then obviously the business owners, they easily make their money back once they've updated everything and put all the things in place. But it does require a little bit of work, but it's lifetime work. It's once you've done it, it's going to work for you today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. And then I also have some clients who then say, all right, Sue, I'm ready for the next stage, which get ready for it. I recommend everyone has their own name website. So sharoncurtin.com, because regardless of your health coaching business, you are still a person, and people, even if you've got a business name, people are going to still look you up online. And a LinkedIn profile is a really great place to start, particularly if you're new to the industry. But at some point, I do recommend that you buy the domain name, and you buy something called domain name privacy, and you make sure you renew it every year. And then when you decide to publish, it will be as old as it was from when you bought it. You don't need to buy 16 versions, sharoncurtin.co.uk, .co.nz, .net. You don't need to buy all those. Just one. .com is the simplest one. And yeah, start publishing your content there. And if you're ready for the next step, which is to publish some sort of book. So it could just be an ebook. It doesn't have to be anything major. But what happens when you do that is you get an ISBN code, and then the internet knows that you are an author. And so your content is automatically given a bit of a boost because you're recognized as an author. So anything I have published, I always say by Sue Ellson. And then there's that byline that joins all the dots. And so that's why I appear in AI results and online results, because I've got that author status. So yeah, so I help people build that first version of their website and get those things happening. And then of course I've got a huge network. So I pass my clients on to individual people to work with, and they found that very beneficial. But they have to do their homework first. Just like a good health coach, you've got to implement the strategies. And so same thing with with any LinkedIn coaching or mentoring. The only other profile that I do recommend you have is a YouTube channel. Like that is really important too, because Google owns YouTube. So yes, you might want to put all your videos on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And I'm on those, and I'm on Substack, and I'm on Facebook and Twitter or X. I'm on all of those as well. But yeah, definitely do encourage you to have a YouTube channel. Definitely encourage you to have a Google business profile. And although none of us want to be on Facebook, the benefit of Facebook is if you can get Facebook reviews, because Google reviews are used on Google Chrome. But if somebody is using Bing or Microsoft or ChatGPT, because these are all owned by Microsoft, then they're only going to show Facebook reviews. So for those of you who've still got a Facebook page, make sure you ask a few of your top clients and friends to write a Facebook review, because that's going to help you appear in those other results as well. So yeah, I'm really about creating a bigger footprint. Most people know me just as LinkedIn, but that's just because it makes me memorable. But when we start working together, they end up finding out, oh, right, okay, there's these other things that we can do to increase that digital footprint and continually build your network. Because the reality is, Sharon, the tech is coming and it's going to automate so many things.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to survive as humans is if we have relationships and we maintain those relationships. So yeah, LinkedIn's very powerful for that.
Fantastic. Well, I will put a note in the show notes with
Yeah.
all the links to how the coaches can find you, how they can access your fabulous free webinars, or just read the slides.
Yes.
And your books as well, because I think, when coaches start out, they're thinking, where do I invest my money? So there's free resources. If they've been going for a while, they might think, okay, I'm ready for some one-on-one Sue time, and then they can find you that way, because your wealth is very broad, and I can really hear that you know what you're doing.
Well, the Gigsters book is a really important one because I wrote that before COVID, so that was interesting in itself. But it's basically how I've survived since 1994 without a real job. Now, as a coach, you're not working for someone. I mean, you're going to have multiple gigs, and you're going to need to use technology to attract those aligned gigs. So I wrote that before we had all the fabulous features we've got now. And there's one chapter in the book that's really important, which is about money management. And people really need to be very careful about how they spend their money and what they do with their money. And it's a very different mindset. If you've had a job for many years and now you've become a health coach, it's a huge shift in the way you operate. So that Gigsters book would be for those health coaches who are really starting on the journey too.
Yes, fantastic. So
Cool.
useful resources.
Thank you, Sharon. Great to be able to share them.
Sue, it has been so helpful to talk to you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Well, I look forward to connecting again in the future, Sue.
Perfect. Thanks, Sharon.
Thanks for listening to Health Coach Impact. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. It helps us support more coaches just like you. Stay connected with HCANZA on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, and in our YouTube channel. If you want to learn more about membership and resources, go to our website www.hcanza.org. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making an impact.